Yo, welcome. Real Estate Unboxed. What's up,
Real estate,
family?
real estate unboxed. Here we are,
Let's
unboxing
go.
things.
Heck yeah, man. Making the journey easier to palate, easier to understand so y'all can dive right into real estate, get some deals done. All right, we got a super special guest in the building today. I'll give him a brief introduction and let him, drop the gems. This is my guy, Emeka Opara. I've known this guy for years. He's been my partner for quite a while now. We've done a bunch of deals together. This dude is dispo transaction coordinating expert. All right, I'll let him dive in, bro. Welcome to the freaking Real Estate Unboxed podcast, bro. Who is Emeka?
There we go. I mean, I'm just that guy, you know. I'm just that guy. But no, listen, man, it's great to be here. Great to be, in the vicinity of, another great investor. We've, like I said, we've been chopping out this investment block for a while, and it's good to finally be able to give back and share some experiences with the people, people who are also on the same journey. So that's why we're here, man. That's why we're here. Me myself, just another guy like everybody else who hopped into the game and with a lot of open eyes and open arms, and now we're here doing deals across the country and trying to make things work. So there we go.
Trying, we don't try, bro. We do.
Yeah, I like to keep it a little modest just so people understand, but yeah, we're definitely doing, definitely doing.
100%. 100%, man. So, yeah, y'all, super happy to have everyone on here. Again, the Real Estate Unboxed podcast. The purpose of this is to unbox the game for you guys. So, at the end of today's episode, I hope you walk away with, yo, I know I could jump in and do this right here. Like the game is unboxed, my eyes are open. I see the possibilities of what I can do in real estate, and I see that it's right there just for me to grab. It's up to me to take action and reach out to guys like Emeka so I can learn and do deals from them. Yo, so Emeka, tell us, bro. Like, where are you from? How did your journey get started in real estate? Tell us, bro. Give us the sauce.
Give us the sauce, right? So absolutely. So I'm a DMV native, from DC, Maryland area. You know, love the city. Me myself, I've always had that mindset of like I want to be able to not only build my community, but just put myself and my family in a better position, where we have assets that we can leverage in the future, and basically not have to worry about living situations or money, honestly. And that's kind of one of the first things that drew me to real estate. For those of you, a lot, for who actually know me, people who may be watching, they know that I am a technical guy by trade. I went to school for engineering and all this other stuff. So when I first looked at the opportunity of real estate was just something that gave me the opportunity to expand into something that was new for me, and to also create a lot of opportunities for people in the future. Like that's the biggest thing about people that look like us in our community is that we don't own a lot of things, we don't run a lot of things in our current lives. So how do we build on that for the next generation of people and make sure they have those opportunities? So
Mhm.
that was the biggest thing for me. um how I got into the game, I was in Cleveland, playing ball, going to school, and just really focused on just graduating and getting things done at that time. But this real estate bug was something that was already in my ear. It was already in my ear, chatting a little bit, and I was just kind of curious of how to get into the business, how to get involved.
How did
Um,
you how did you first hear about it, bro? Like, was it like a uncle, a relative, someone already doing it? Did you find a YouTube video?
so funny enough, like I do have relatives that are into real estate. I have a couple uncles who are actually very heavy into real estate. One in the Maryland area and the one internationally abroad. But that wasn't exactly how I kind of like heard about it or got interested in it. I was pretty much just really interested in like, hey, how can I have, a rental property? That was honestly the first thing that I was thinking about. How can I have like properties where people can make money off of? And the reason why that is because I came to Cleveland and I saw all these houses and like cheap rent and people that were renting their houses for duplexes and stuff like that. And I'm like, I've never seen it be that easy to gain a property anywhere. Coming back from the DMV, it's like everything's so expensive. Like you buy a house, it's like $300,000. You want to rent a property somewhere, at least where I was at. So, you know, the opportunities didn't really seem like they were that feasible back where
Mhm.
I was from. And so when I came back, when I came to Cleveland and saw how cheap it was to get a property and how cheap it was to start renting out, I was like, wow, like I really got to figure out how to start doing this, or at least start making money somehow in the business. And that was when I first got there. And then just slowly but surely, like as I started like hearing a little bit more on YouTube, and I met Olu on shortly after in college, and he was on the same wave, interested in real estate. Naturally, things just kind of came together. Um, but I think I always had this mindset of like, how do I make money while I'm doing other things, right?
Mm.
Or how do I do the passive income while I'm trying to get things ready, in my primary source. And then it just turned out that over time, that passive source becomes the primary source, right? Like the passive side becomes the primary side, and the primary side is more passive. So that's just the nature of how things kind of grew out. But yeah, like I've always had a little bit of a knack for ownership, and being present in the community and like renting stuff. It just didn't really click until I got to Cleveland and saw how easy it was, or how cheap it was rather, to kind of get into the game, start owning things. And I was like, nah, we got to figure out how to do this. Like whether it's rentals or whether it's something else, we got to figure out how to get in the game. And that
No,
was
I love that, bro. Because I think one thing that us as entrepreneurs, like a lot of times, what happens is we won't know something is possible, right? And so now
hmm
there's a barrier in our mind for what we can do, what we can go out and do, what we can go out and impact. Because you coming from the DMV, the average price of a house here is 350,000 in the
right,
DMV. That's just Maryland. That's not counting Nova or DC. It's 350, right?
right,
Which is kind of like an affordable house. So you going there, you didn't have the understanding or the rung in your mind that, oh, I can buy real estate for a decent price, rent it out, bada boom, bada bing. So once that was exposed to you, it was just like, wow, there's this whole world out here that I can go out and impact. Like I can do this. You know what I'm
right,
saying? And I think a lot of times with entrepreneurs, one of the biggest things you need to do is just see that it's possible. See it, believe it, so that you know you can go out and achieve it. And I think one of the things that you've done and we've done throughout our journey is connect to people who have already kind of done those things, got a guide. When we realize, when our mind opens up to these ideas, and we just try to soak it all up so that we can take advantage of it. But that's a huge thing, bro. Just getting those rules of the world that aren't true out of your mind is so freaking important, bro.
yeah. And honestly, that's really what it was. Like, I tell you not, I came to Cleveland. I had a friend that was going to Cleveland State or something, and we went back to his place, and it was a house, a duplex type thing. And he owned it by himself. And I was like, wait, you own this house? He was like, yeah. Like, I mean, I haven't really done anything rental wise, but I live on this side. I'm thinking about fixing out this other side. And I was like, bro, how'd you get this house? He's like, I mean, I kind of just saved up a little bit and got some money from some family members, and I bought it from my uncle. And I was just like, wow, like you really bought this house and got into it for like little to no money down, and now we're talking about you becoming a landlord. Like that kind of just really, that was like the spark. I was like, wow, you can actually get into the business for not $500,000, not $1 million, not 100 grand spent, and still own property, and then start becoming a landlord. And you're in college, you're a young guy like myself. So yeah, that kind of opened up my eyes to kind of see like, all right, this stuff is really possible. Depending on where you are, you don't have to start at 500 grand properties. You don't have to start in the center of DC where everything's $1 million. You can start anywhere, and really just have the mindset that all you have to do is take the necessary steps that you feel most comfortable with, and also that that you're going to be able to be consistent at.
Mm.
And Yeah, that was kind of like the starter for me. After that, it was just a lot of like research and kind of figuring out where I fit into the business to start out, and then taking it from there. So it's very important, like you just said, to see that feasible, right? Because a lot of times, especially for people that look like us, like you think of like, oh, who's in real estate? It's the Trumps, it's the all these people that are super millionaires. Like those are the guys that do real estate, and you don't really get to see the community of people that are from your same block, the people that are from your same neighborhoods, who
Hmm.
are buying those neighborhoods and turning them around, or even better, buying those neighborhoods, fixing them up and renting them back to people like that look like you. So it's very important to kind of see that image and see that it's possible, and then also use that as motivation to kind of push you in the right direction.
Yeah. No, I love that, bro. That's so key. And shoot, another thing I want to ask you, bro. So it's one thing to know about stuff, right? Like,
Hmm.
if knowledge was all you needed to get what you want, everybody would have a freaking six pack, right? We would all have six packs.
Right.
Um, so what actions did you take? What people did you connect with? What did you do that really like moved the needle the most? What were like three things that you could say doing these things consistently moved the needle the most after you were exposed to that whole world? Like what made the biggest impact for you? What actions?
So first and foremost, most important thing was educating myself, right?
Mm,
So I had to make the commitment that, hey, like I may be in school, I may be doing this, I may be working, I may be playing ball, but I gotta at least dedicate a certain amount of time every week to kind of learn something, right? Especially if it's new. Anybody that starts off a business venture, a career venture, anything, you got to research that stuff before you even start, jumping in. Or at least if you want to know where you're going, right? So that was first and foremost. Do a little bit of research, understand as much as you can about the business and where you fit in, where it kind of aligns on your path, like what you believe in and what you like. And then from there, number two was surrounding yourself with like-minded people. Surrounding yourself with like-minded people who are actually on that same journey, or at least know about it, so you don't feel like you're out there by yourself, right? For me, it
yeah.
was surrounding myself with you, it was surrounding myself with other people in the area that were going to like meetups and stuff like that. That's very important because you know as much as everybody wants to do stuff on their own and be, oh, I'm self-made, I'm da 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 da. That is really not realistic for the most part. Everybody has somebody that they either got some game from or like held accountability for when they first started, and that's
Even
important.
Rick Ross.
Exactly, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody got to be accountable with somebody. So, and that's important because when you're doing a lot of different stuff, like especially like I was juggling four different things at the same time. It's hard to stay focused and like be committed to something if you don't have that accountability. And you know surrounding myself with those like-minded people at least made it a fact that I'm always consistently in the real estate space, right? Like even if I'm not studying something or watching a YouTube video, the people I talk to are talking about real estate or talking about something regarding real estate, so it's always on top of mind. And that's very important because if it's not on top of mind, then you're not going to do it. That's just plain and simple. Everybody can have all the motivation they want in the world, but like if you're not thinking about it, then you're not acting on it. And number three, I guess the most important thing for me was just making sure that I could take consistent action, no matter how small it was. Right. So for a lot of us, like people are working, people are in school, people are doing all these other stuff. It may be hard to kind of say, hey, I'm going to step away from all this and just start my real estate journey. Not all of us are built like that. But what you can do on a small scale is take consistent action, even if it's just, hey, I'm going to go to these meetup groups once a month. And then I'm going to make sure that every week I follow up with somebody from that meetup that I spoke to. Or I'm going to make sure that every week I'm going to go meet somebody new in this local market that I am and figure out how I can provide some value to them or where I may fit in to help their business. Something like that. For
Yeah,
me,
I think
go ahead.
I was just gonna slide in there, bro. Like I think it's up to you, like how fast you want to go, right?
Mhm.
I think it's super important what you're saying, like get that consistency in there. But the
Mhm.
magnitude and how massive the action you're taking is what's going to determine how long it takes you to get somewhere, guys. So what Emeka is saying is right. It's just up to you. Like how fast do you want to get there, right? How much massive action are you taking? And you got to make sure you're getting percent than you were yesterday. If nothing else, just get 1% better than you were yesterday. Like at
Mhm.
the very least, do not take a backward step, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's the thing, like, if you're one of those people that, like, it's hard to kind of get over the hump, and take that massive first step, then you need to make sure you're taking at least some action, right? Some action that you can hold yourself accountable for and then build on from there. And then what's going to start happening is you're going to start seeing, like, man, like, I really want to start getting more involved in real estate, but I'm only doing this, little step every week. I need to up the ante, up the game up. I need to double down. I need to not only go to a meetup group. I need to go to a meetup group and then also buy, buy some more education that can, point me in the direction where I want to start. And then after that, up it again. So you know what? I'm going to actually go out and start looking at properties that I may want to put an offer in on or something like that. And that's a way for somebody, not everybody is going to be that super go-getter at first, because there's that scarcity mindset, like, I don't know if I can do this, or I don't know if, like, this is right for me. Cool. Dub all that and just start off somewhere small where it doesn't have that great of an impact of what you're doing, and then just make sure you're keeping that consistently. And every time when you're reviewing and looking back on it, double down. You know what I'm saying? Double down, and double down to the point where you're actually taking massive action and getting into the business. And now you're seeing more opportunities come your way and more things for you to act on because you're making a larger footprint. And that's really how you grow in this business. Like, your footprint has to continuously increase,
Mm.
right? If you're looking to gain momentum, if you're looking to, you know, actually make an impact in your community, like, you have to make sure your footprint is constantly increasing. And part of that is the consistent action, but it's also about making sure that you are growing with that consistent action. Anything that's stagnant is not going to continue to grow, right? So you got to make sure that you're taking that action, and then on top of that, learning new ways to double down from that initial action that you've taken, and then do something bigger afterwards.
Have it compound like a snowball. No, that's super
Exactly.
important, bro. And I think like I'm one of those person like I'll burn the boats. Like that's me. Like I'm the burn the boats guy. Um,
Hmm.
but I get what you're saying because when I first started, I did have some of those doubts in my mind. Like, can I do this? Should I do this? Should I be calling sellers? I don't know. I didn't have like a super great community around me, so I had a lot of those. It was harder to eliminate those at the very beginning. But you're
Right.
right. If you just start taking one step at a time and getting one step better and keep it consistent, you'll be good. But it can only last so long. That's why the second part of what Emeka said is so important. Having a community around you to support you who are doing those things, who are taking way more action than you, you're going to start to be like, oh, dang, I'm not taking enough action. Like, I got to go
Hmm.
even harder. And then those same people are going to be the ones to help hold you accountable. Hey, what are you doing? Did you knock that out? Did we, but if you're not taking that action, they're not going to hold you accountable for very long because you're kind of wasting their time. So that's super key, bro. So I love that. That's some fire advice out there for just people who are trying to get into it and they're kind of like, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? They're not 100% sure. So I agree, man. Take those simple ends so that you can get surrounded by the people, get a little bit of momentum, and then that'll help you eliminate those limiting beliefs. 100%. Um,
Yeah.
shoot, bro. Touching on, sorry, what was you about to say, my guy?
No, I was just about to add to that. Like, this business is not like that complicated. Like, it's really not. It's everything and you do in this business. It's not easy, but it's simple,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, like, that's just something that everybody out there should know. Like, it's not impossible to get started in real estate. It's not impossible to start flipping a house. It's not impossible to start renovating something to buy a rental property. You just got to know the game, how to do it.
Yep.
But nothing in this business is so super complicated that nobody can understand and nobody can do. Everything is um it's simple.
And
It's not
someone's
easy.
already done it for the most
Yeah,
part. For
exactly,
the most part.
exactly. It's already been done. You just got to figure out how to make it work for you.
Yeah. So, bro, I want to ask you, like, what is your role in our company and for the deals that we do?
Mhm.
What could you tell the people, like, kind of about what you do and how someone might be able to go ahead and get started in that in even the next 30 days for another company or a partner or something like that? Drop
Mhm.
some gems on us, Doc.
Yeah, so basically what I do is I help manage the operation side of the business, right? So anything that's involving disposing a property, for those who don't know, dispositions is mainly the act of finding a buyer or finding an end party that's going to work with you on a deal, right? So whether that's whether that's a large organization buying properties, and whether that's a mom and pop shop looking for their first new home, we help match up the deals to get them closed and get everybody paid. And on the back end side of that, it's also managing the actual transaction of the deal, right? Making sure that everything is teed up for the attorneys who are going to close on it, making sure all parties involved are aware of all the progress, making sure that the deal actually makes it to the finish line,
Mm,
right? So, if you guys, I know they've probably spoke about it on the podcast already, but everything as far as making money in this business is a process, right? So you start off one way, almost like idea inception. When something comes in, you work it, you follow up with it, you get it to the point where you can actually get it in the contract or get an agreement with somebody, and then you close on it, you make the money, solve the solution for somebody else. So that's just a simple process side. I focus more on the delivery portion of that, which is making sure that we can get the deals locked up and get them closed. So for a lot of you newbies out there, or people who are just trying to step into the game, what does that mean, right? like okay, yeah, you guys you close the deals, okay. Well, like I don't have a deal right now, so what does that mean for me? Um, and the most important thing you can do to get started in your own market with somebody who is similar like ourselves is one, don't be afraid to like put yourself out there and reach out to people who are doing exactly what you want to do.
mhm.
So find those people, right? If you know that like, hey, I want to own rental properties or I want to flip houses, first thing you need to do is start joining local groups in your area and networking with those people. See who's got the game, who's got the juice, right? Who's got the juice in the market, who's doing deals, who's doing stuff that you want to do, and then connect with them. And see what they are doing in their business, and most importantly, see how you can provide value, right? See how you can provide value to them.
You're not going there to pick their brain. You're not going there
Right,
to steal a second of their time or book a coffee session.
exactly. I
Know how you
guarantee.
can provide value on site, like as soon as you start the conversation.
Exactly, exactly. So know who you are and what you can do, and then be confident in that. For some of you guys, yes, you guys may not have the money to joint venture with anything like that, but you have the time to go scout some properties, or you have the time to go do the legwork for somebody for a deal.
To find the
That
buyer, to communicate with the title company, to
exactly.
organize the CRM.
Yeah, all those things are things that you don't have to have a lot of experience for, things that you can easily get into, and things that everybody needs, right? And when you start connecting with people, like you just said, the 15-minute coffee break or lunch break to pick your brain is not going to work in this business, right? Like that doesn't work. So you got to be able to tell somebody, hey, I see you guys are doing deals and flips in these areas. I have the time. I can go drive these properties. I can go connect you with a buyer that I've met. I can be available at these point in times to go work with your tenants and pick up checks and stuff like that. Find out what you can feasibly do with your time and understand that that has value in it, and start networking with people who need that value, right? People who are making millions of dollars in your market, a lot of times they still need people to do the legwork, to go meet up with tenants, to go look at properties, to go send them deals. Um, that's something you can do immediately. Like you don't even have to have any type of real estate knowledge to do that. And a lot of it just comes from connecting with them, letting them see how like you can help out, what they need in their business. The most important thing you can ask somebody when you're networking with them is like, what do they need, right? Like, what do they need in their business? Because like ultimately, that's what's always on their mind. Everything else they've accomplished. They've got that
Sometimes, bro,
button
that
down.
question can even bug them, right? Because now you're giving them homework. Like, how can I add value to you? Shit, I don't. Now I gotta go back and think. You should
Right.
get someone you really want, guys, to work with. If you see them talking at the event, if you hear them talking to other people, you should go up to them straight away. Like, I hear you're doing this, this, and this. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? I don't have a ton of experience, but I can do this, this, and this. And I'm a fast learner. I'm willing to help you grow your business with what you mentioned earlier, or what I saw on your website, or what I
Hmm.
already know from knowing the background of your business, and anything else that you might need help with related to that. Like, go to
Right.
them with boom, like straight up value, because
Right.
asking those questions, guys, it's like giving them more homework. That's a
Hmm.
task. That's a task question. Sometimes it's like, hey, where can I add value to your business? Right. Same thing, like picking your brain for coffee and stuff. It's
Right.
great. You know, it's a good gesture, but this business is fast, and people don't have a ton of time.
Hmm.
Bro, another thing that I've seen you be like a freaking expert at, and I think this will add a lot of value, especially to people who are more interested in that integrator side, that dispo and transaction side. But shoot, so like the conveyor belt, lead comes in, we lock it up, we push it over to you. What happens next, bro? Like, could you break that down at all? Like, what are some things that a newbie might need to understand about that process if they're going up to someone in the business and trying to add that value? What are some things on the dispo or transaction coordinating side that they could take to another wholesaling company or a newer investor and be like, listen, this is what I can do, how I can partner up. I heard Emeka talk about this. He's a G. So
Right. Yeah, man. I mean, so one thing that's super important is like a deal comes in, right? A deal comes in that's under contract, and somebody's looking to get a solution to help solve sell their property. We need to know, one, make sure that we got the people that are actually looking to buy that property, right? Looking to buy that house. So one thing that you guys that are newbies can do is when you're connecting with people who are like myself or in doing the dispo side of the business, understand what that buy box is, what they are looking for as far as their investors, their buyers, the people that are going to be closing the deals for them. Get that picture of what that is and go find somebody. Just go find somebody. Go start networking in groups, go looking for deals online, go, start scouting in real estate investment groups where you see people chatting and talking. Go find somebody. You know,
you
what
say,
what did what did
you
that
mean
guy go ahead?
when you say go find somebody, you mean like go find somebody with a deal or go find someone?
Right. Go find somebody with a deal. You can either go find somebody with a deal, or you can even help out by saying, "Hey, I got somebody that is probably looking to pick up something similar."
Okay.
And how do you go find somebody with a deal, right? You say like, "Hey, Emeka's looking for properties that look like this. There are 1,000 square feet, small houses with 2 bedrooms, or whatever the case may be." Just for example. All right, I'm new to this business. I don't understand much of anything that he's doing, but I know what this house looks like, right? So let me go start going online. I can go to free Zillow, I can go to Facebook groups, I can go to Facebook Marketplace. Let me just scout deals or people that are looking to sell their property or people
Bro,
that
you
are
can go
asking.
to Google.
You can go to Google's. You can go to Google, go to all these free places. You don't have to go like you don't have to have all the game about where the best things are. You just have to know what to look for. Um, and you can honestly, I mean, I say Facebook Marketplace because that's where most people are. It's social media, right? Like everybody, for the most part, is going to have something social media related. Um, and go start looking for deals, looking for properties that you think fit that criteria, right? That's one way. And now you are now providing value by scouting deals that another investor like myself can actually close on. And before you know it, you actually find something that somebody says, "Hey, where'd you find that? Let's lock that up." And all you did was go take 30 minutes to go scouting online. And now you
Let's
have a
do
deal.
them now.
And now you have a deal, right? So that's one way. Another way is a similar thing, but now you're actually looking for buyers. I know somebody who I was actually talking to about a week ago, and he was new to the business. He just said that when he joined, he used to go to a lot of meetup groups and you know looked for real estate related groups online. He just always saw a lot of people that were like looking for properties. He didn't know what type of properties were, but he always saw, hey, does anybody have these or does anybody have this? And then he just took note of those people that were asking those questions online or people he heard talk at meetups. And lo and behold, he had a buyer's list now and he didn't even know it. Just
That's
by
great.
taking a look at people who are asking questions in a group. You can see somebody who was in a Facebook group or at a meetup that says, hey, like, I've been looking for properties that look like they're good Airbnbs or, they're around this area and are good rentals. And he just took note of who those people were. And then lo and behold, down the line, he connects with another investor that says, hey, we have this deal. We're trying to move it. We're trying to find a buyer for it. And he's like, you know what? I actually saw somebody like that who was asking for something similar like last week. I mean, I don't know if they're serious or not, but I can at least pass them the info. And boom, now you have uh, an opportunity and a potential way to close that opportunity. And then you have the completion of a process there. So, I mean, there's I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of ways, to help out on even just the tail end side of the business. Those are just a few couple ones, and
What
to
I love about that, bro, is like it's something we still do those types of deals today, guys. Like we
right.
still do those types of deals where we didn't do the entire process, we did a portion of it. And so having that network, creating that at the beginning and having that skill set at the beginning is something that's going to serve you throughout your journey. No matter if you're on the acquisition side, finding a motivated seller and JV in that way, or if you're on the disposition side, finding a deal that's already locked up or finding a buyer for a deal and kind of partnering on it that way. Something that's always going to serve you in your business. And it's a free strategy. So it's going to, increase your profit margins 100%, lower your overhead costs. So always have that referral kind of free base strategy mixed into your paid strategies for sure, y'all.
And absolutely. And here's the thing, like you guys gotta think about it. Like it may be simple, like you just going out to find somebody, but at the bare level, the core of what that is, everybody in the business does that, right? Like if they're, working on commercial deals that are $50 million a pop, or they have buyers who are looking for $100 million apartment complexes. When an opportunity comes in, first thing they're going to do is they're going to like double check and analyze the property again, make sure it's a good deal, and they're going to start pushing out to people that they know, right? They're going
Yeah,
to start pushing out to their buyers. They're going to start leveraging the resources of the team that they have to try to close that deal, right? And so even at a bare bones basic level, you're relatively going to be doing the same thing. You may not have all the tools that they have. You may not know how to analyze a deal to make sure that it's there's enough meat on the bone to make money. But at the core, at the core of what they're doing, you're doing the same thing. You're pairing a buyer to a property or finding a property to pair with a buyer. Still the same thing, just
yeah,
simplified.
bro. Yo, so you've done probably over 30, 40, 50 something deals, I think. And one thing that I want people to leave here today with is, yo, how do I dispo a deal or how do I transaction coordinate a deal? So I know we only got like 25 minutes left, bro, but would you mind walking people through that process? I'm here to pull all the juice out you, dog.
Mhm.
Pause. Would you mind walking people through that process? What happens when a contract comes in? What's next?
Right. So first and foremost, right, contract comes in. You take a look at what you have. Right. I have a single family property in Cleveland. Okay, cool. Do we have access to the property? Do we have idea of what the property actually looks like inside? Let's verify the condition of it. Verify what we have to see what our buyers are going to look for, and see who we're going to have to push it out to. That's step number one. And on the transaction side of that, step number one is as a transaction coordinator, you're making sure that you are communicating with all parties involved, right? So we have the dispo side and the transaction side. Dispo side, you're looking at the deal. seeing if you have proper access to the deal, you have pictures, everything you need to actually put it out there to your buyers. On the transaction side, you want to make sure that you are communicating with the seller, saying, hey, I'm the coordinator for this deal. I help deal with all the communication with the attorneys and the people that are going to be closing this up legally to get you paid. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me so we can answer them. That's step number one. Step number two, once we've confirmed, on the dispo side, we've confirmed access, we know what the property looks like, we can get people inside. We are making sure that who are our top prime fire spicy buyers, right? Who are constantly looking for deals every day, every week, right? We want to make sure that if this is in their wheelhouse, or something that they're looking for, they're getting this property within minutes, right? Like, hey, like we got a hot deal, we got something that's ready to go. Boom, take a look at it. It's going to be blasted out to everybody today anyway. So if you want to move on it quickly, take it right now, or you're going to see it on the market blasted to everybody who we know. Um, and the reason why that's important is because a big part of this business is how do we get repeat business, right? How do
Mm,
you make sure that the people that are buying your deals are going to continue to come back and like build those relationships? Yeah, you can talk about it. You guys can you know, converse all the time, shoot the shit here and there, but they want deals, right? Everybody wants deals. Like that's what's going to keep that stuff growing. So when you get something locked up and you have the access to it and you've confirmed all the little minute details, sending it to them and be like, hey, like we sent this to you first. If you want it, act on it now. Otherwise, they're gonna blast it out. That's always one of the first things you want to do because it gives them the feeling of exclusivity, right? Like almost like when you go into the club or go into an event and they let the people who are VIP in first. They let the people who have a table in first. Like, okay, cool. Like now I don't have to worry about whatever. I'm gonna build a relationship with this club owner because every time I go to the club, I get a first walk into the property or first walk into the venue. Um, and so that's the second thing. On the transaction side, the second thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you are actually communicating with the entity that is going to close the deal. If it's
mm.
an attorney's office, if it's a title company, um, a lot of those two people they work hand in hand, but you want to communicate with them saying, "Hey, we have this under contract. This is a new deal that we are working on. We would like to start the process of opening up escrow or getting this closed. Even if you don't know what escrow is, they will know what it is, right? You just want to let them know, like, hey, we got this under contract. We're going to be finding a buyer. We just want to get the process started. And here is this piece of paper that we got signed. Do what you do. I don't understand all the ins and outs of that, but I know you guys do something with this. So take it and start it.
Guys,
Um,
that's ultimately what a purchase contract is, and all the addendums. They're just instructions for the attorney and the title company.
Right. Exactly. You get like when you get something under contract, all you're doing is giving them the paperwork so that they can open up a file and have one central repository for everything to go that's going to work towards closing the deal. So that's number two on the transaction side. And so let's hop back over to dispo. So we got the first two things on the dispo side. Now we are going to make sure that everybody that we know, our buyers, our joint venture partners, our hedge funds, our, whoever we've communicated with about deals and getting stuff locked up is going to get visibility of what we have in the contract. And that has to happen quickly, right? So anytime you're getting something under contract, you should be getting out, you know, details about the property, details about the deal, what you're looking for almost immediately within the first 24 hours. And you want to keep that standard because that's what's going to help expedite the deal process. If you wait a couple of days, wait a week or whatever to put the information out there and say, hey, like, oh, I'll just send it out next week or whatever, you're doing yourself a disservice. Because ultimately, anytime you guys go into an agreement with somebody, it's for a certain amount of time, whether it's 10 days or 30 days. You want to make sure you have the most amount of time to do your due diligence on finding a buyer for that property. So if you wait for a week, then that's a week gone. And what if the buyer comes back and says, "Hey, I need 3 more days to go take a look at something"? Now you've done burned 2 weeks, right? So first and foremost, you take a look at the property that's come in, make sure you have all the details and info. If you haven't, work on getting that and put it out to your VIP buyers immediately. Make sure they have an understanding of what they're looking for, and how they can get the deal closed. And don't wait. Don't wait for them either. As soon as you put that out to them, you give them a time span. Like, hey, like we're putting this out there today. I just wanted to let you know that this is under contract and we want to move this, and then blast it out to as many people as you can within that first 24 to 48-hour span, so that you can start fielding offers and fielding the interest on the property, and then understanding where they have to be to make it a deal, right?
Bro, I'm sorry to jump in on you, but the way that you just broke that down is like literally it's I couldn't have said it any better. That's literally how the game is, guys. Like if you really want to think about dispositions a type of way, think about it as literally the mirror of acquisitions. The biggest differences are that now we're working with a different type of client. All right. So for acquisitions, we're mainly our business facing the consumer. We're facing a client, we're facing a person. Sometimes it's another company investor, but most of the time it's going to be typically an older seller, something like that. We got to solve a problem for them. We really have to involve that emotional element, right? We have to have empathy, all of that. Once the paperwork is signed, it now goes over to business side, all right? So acquisitions, marketing, lead gen, business to consumer. Dispositions, transaction coordinating, all of that stuff is business to business. Emeka is selling the contract or the deal to another investor. That's another business. And when he's doing transaction coordinating, he's working with another business in order to pass this deal off to another business. So that might even help y'all think about, hey, what's the dynamic of this supposed to be? And that's another reason why speed is so important, because we're almost transitioning clients and types of businesses in between. And because the first part is so emotionally involved, it's important to have that speed with the seller and also that speed on the back end to keep your seller happy, make sure they have a good experience, you get good reviews, do more business, more referrals, and then on the other side, have that positive, speedy experience for the business of the other person because they have a time constraints as well. So that's super key, y'all. I love the way you broke that down, bro. Can't
Yeah,
more
and,
shit.
and you hit it right. You hit the nail right on the head, because one thing you're gonna have to realize is that in this business, there's multiple parties involved at all points in times, right? So when you're looking at your timeline, you also have to look at the timeline of the person who's trying to sell the property. You also have to think of the timeline of the people that are going to actually be physically closing the deal, like the attorneys and everything. So time is always going to be of the essence, right? It's always going to be of the essence, because when you drag your feet on something, it slows up the process for everybody else. So that's one thing everybody always has to remember.
This
And
business is very leverage based and everything compounds. Your
right,
time, your efforts compound, the relationships you build compound, the money that you generate compounds, the deals, your skills, everything compounds, and so do the bad things. So
exactly, exactly. Everything compounds, man. And it's like, and even if you're taking the right action on something, like if you're not doing it efficiently, like that inefficiency is going to compound as well, right? So, all that stuff is important, and which is why it goes back to the fundamental idea of what we said initially, is that take massive action expeditiously. Honestly, that's add a little bit of tidbit to that. So take as much action as you can as early as possible, because what that's going to help do, it's going to help find the answers quicker. It's also going to help find the problems quicker that you need to solve in order to get this deal closed.
if you pour
Um,
more water in that bucket, you're gonna find more holes if they're
exactly,
so that's solid.
exactly. Um, and that's a very big thing, because even with when we talked about going, I was just talking about going with the title company, right? Opening up escrow and giving them the contract. You want to do that so that in case anything comes up issue wise, say that they're reviewing the file and they're basically what the title company is going to do is they're going to take that contract, right? They're going to look at the property address, they're going to look at the who the seller is and who you are as the buyer, and they're going to start doing the research on the property to make sure there's nothing legally binding that's going to prevent that seller from selling the property, right? So if I say I get a house under contract from Jim, I send this contract with Jim. I'm buying his house for 100 grand, and I give it to the title company to open up a file, open up escrow is what they call it. What they're going to do is they're going to look at Jim's house. They're going to look at Jim's legal record, or, on the house, and make sure that there's no either liens or there's no unpaid taxes. There's nothing that's basically going to prevent him from selling that house to us. And that's very important because if they do find something, then before the house is even transferred, you need to make sure that those issues are solved, right? That's otherwise there's no deal there. So um, that's a very key part of that is that making sure that you're taking that action as early as possible, because there may be some times where some things pop up out of nowhere that you're not expecting that the seller didn't know about either that you have to work through, and that also is going to impact your time to close on a deal.
100%. Dang, bro, you really dropping some gems, man.
That's what I'm telling people. Like this thing is not. It's not easy, but it's simple. Like it's not easy, but it is simple. Like anybody can really do it. It's just about taking the action for it. And even if you mess up on something, taking heed to that mistake and then, just repairing the system to make sure it doesn't happen again.
100%. Dang, bro. So there was a couple of big things you mentioned so far. So you talked about how one taking massive action is super important. You talked about how getting around like-minded people, surrounding yourself with other people doing the business is important. Education, knowing and understanding the business is important, and then speed and efficiency, super key, bro. Shoot, I freaking love that, dog. Anything else that you feel is like literally pivotal for the dispo or transaction coordinating role, or what are some booby traps we should watch out for, or how can someone dive into one of these roles in someone's business that's already doing deals? What are some thoughts on that you got, brother?
So that's twofold, right? So something the first question is, some other things to look out for or to take heed to. For one, is this is basically a relationship building business on all levels, right? If you think about it, when you first get a lead or somebody that's interested in selling their property, right? You're starting that off by, either talking to them on the phone, you're mailing them, or they're, whatever. That first initial conversation is part of building that relationship,
Mm,
building rapport with that person to get them to trust you so that they want to sell their property. Then you get through the whole process of getting it locked up, getting in a contract. And when it comes to our table, we still are in the relationship building business, right? Especially with our buyers. So part of building that relationship is validating that these are people that are actually, who they say they are and actually going to close on the deal. And also making sure that they're holding up their end of the bargain as well, that they have the funds to close and that they're moving expeditiously also. And that comes through, following up with the buyers, having real conversations about the property.
get a proof
um,
of funds.
right, getting a proof of funds from them, making sure that they actually have the money to close on the deal. And looking out for little loopholes like people signing contracts before they go see something, or people saying that they have the money for something and then signing a contract and then not wanting to move forward on stuff. So like
The people
those
saying
are
they have the money for the deposit and it's in a different form of currency or something like that. You know,
exactly, exactly. So these are all things that like, you know, when we say it's part of relationship building, it is because a lot of this stuff comes up after you have those conversations, after you have those, those deep conversations when you guys are, talking about the deal, talking about what they're actually looking for, how they can close. Like, don't be afraid to ask any of these buyers a question that you would really need the answer to. Like, how
where are
fast
you
are you gonna
getting?
yeah, where are you getting your money, right? Or
Yeah,
how are you gonna pay for this? Or How fast are you going to be able to close on this? These are all questions that like you need to have the answer to, right? So if you're not going to have the answer because you're not the buyer, so they should have that answer. And if you're, if you're having an honest conversation with somebody about them being able to close on a deal that you brought them and they're starting to feel a certain type of way, that's a red flag. It's a red flag because ultimately, like, there's got to be some level of trust, between everybody you do business with, whether it's on the buyer side, the seller side, the title company side. And if you guys can't have open conversation about what it's gonna take to close this deal, then you know that should let you know that that person may not be the right person you want to work with, because you want to make sure you feel comfortable with everybody at all phases of the deal. If you don't feel comfortable with somebody because they're not willing to tell you like how they're going to close on a deal, or like how long it's going to take them, or if they have the money for it or not, and they're just saying, hey, like, just take my word for it, like, nah, we don't do that. That's
And I
not
would say, to add on to that, one thing I learned from watching you, bro, is like you don't bend your rules, your disposition rules or your TC rules for a buyer. Just because they have a higher offer or a quicker offer, you don't bend your rules, because that
right.
is also a red flag.
Right. Yeah, when people start asking you to do things that you don't typically do for them, that's a red flag, because at that point you're now entering the realm of you really don't have a lot of control of how the situation is going to pan out. And it could turn out perfectly. It could pan out that they have a great offer, to get a great deal, whatever. But it could also pan out the other way, where it makes it extremely hard for you to get the deal closed, and you're running around trying to. I've done a running around for deals for I've done enough of that for 1.5 lifetimes. Like, I don't need to be doing any more running around for deals for anybody. So like, having those stipulations of what you guys are very hard and solid on, is important, because when people try to start bending those a little bit, they're looking for loopholes that make it easier on themselves, rather than just getting something locked up and getting it closed,
And
and
doing it
that
properly,
and
right?
doing it
Doing
the
it the
proper
right
way.
way.
So, so that's the first bit of that. The second bit about of how can um, people who are new get involved. Um, you know, Depending on what you have the time and availability for, there's a lot of ways to help out the dispo team. Like we talked about a little bit earlier about like finding like scouting deals that fit a certain buy box that people that they have their buyers for. That's one way. Another way is like, for a lot of people who may not understand the business but may have a car and maybe local to a certain market, you can really actually help a lot of dispo teams out by being that person that goes and grabs photos for them. Maybe being that person that goes to get access to the property to see if something is damaged, or be that first line of defense. If it's a rental property, going and talking to the tenants just to see, when they're planning on moving out, or getting photos and stuff like that. You don't even have to understand anything about real estate, honestly, to do that stuff, and it can still provide value. I'll tell you how, because when businesses get to a certain level where they're doing deals nationwide, a lot of them are not going to be local to the market that the deal is in, right? So you may be talking to somebody who lives in Phoenix and is doing a deal in Texas, and yeah, they have all the opportunity to close on the deal. They have the buyers, they have all this other stuff, but they might need somebody to consistently go to the property to make sure the tenant is not in there, right? And they might need somebody to go take photos and make sure that the people who were supposed to move out actually move out. Now, are there services that help does that? Of course, but if you have a property that you're trying to close on where there's an issue with the tenants and they keep on coming back into the house and breaking in, who wants to spend $300 every single time to go send somebody out there? Like, nobody does, right? So now, you being somebody in that market, locally, you're providing value to a large scale business by being those boots on the ground that not only can find them deals that fit their certain buy box, but can also help them go to different properties, take photos, you know, double check on things to make sure that um, the tenants that were supposed to move out actually moved out and didn't trash the house and stuff like that. Those are all things that a typical property manager or management company would do, but at this point you're providing value because the actual investor doesn't have to pay an arm and a leg to have that happen.
Bro,
And
that's
now,
so fire. But you can be easily become. You just gave them a guide to literally become the go-to boots on the ground for virtual investors if you're in some sort of major market or close to one, or squad up with someone to do that. And now all the other virtual investors will start to know your name if you do it consistently enough and do it the right way, focused on getting the relationship. Everybody's gonna start going to you, referring you out, and eventually you're gonna be in between all the deals in that market. Dang, bro, you just gave them a hella good blueprint. That's fire.
dude, because we've done it so many times. That's how that stuff happens. There's so many times we had to reach out to people and say like, "Oh man, like we're not here locally. Like, who can we get to go over there?" And you can ask other investors, but like everybody's time is valuable, right? So like, you can't function off the thought that everybody has time to go do you a favor, right? So if you find somebody like when you find somebody that has enough time to go to your properties, take photos for you, like you can build a relationship with, and they see the value in what you're bringing to them, it is gold because now
Everybody's winning.
everybody's winning, right? Like you're helping them out learn more about the business, like they're getting experience. Now they know what it's like to go into a property where there may be somebody squatting in there and not doing what they're supposed to be. Now they know how to take photos of a property, like all types of stuff. And another part of this business is there's so many ways to get involved in real estate. We might not gonna jump into that conversation because that could take forever. But
That'll be another hour.
yeah, there's so many different jobs in this industry that it's ridiculous, right? That same person who's now going out to take pictures of your properties or whatever, like something that they could do, they could be involved in property management, start their own property management company. Just because they're local to the area, they have a big network of investors that they go take their properties, take pictures for their properties for, and they go help out with their tenant situations. Maybe when they start to do that more for more people, they ask for a little fee here and there, and they start their own management company that they have real relationships with investors for. So
Mm,
now this is not an investor going to go pay some random property management company. No, this is Jeff from down the block who's been helping me for my properties for 2 years. So he knows exactly what I'm looking for. He knows exactly how to, you know, get the answers that I need, and he knows exactly how what how I work and how to get the information to me as quickly as possible. So I'm more likely to work with Jeff than the Sunshine Real Estate Management who I've never met before in my life,
you gonna
right?
pay them to keep managing them and managing everything they're doing.
Exactly, right? And so now Jeff, maybe Jeff likes that. Maybe he doesn't really like the whole getting deals locked up and finding buyers. Maybe he just likes the physical aspect of like going to the properties, making sure they're good, and doing all that. He can now have a place with this company as being their property manager to do all the stuff that they were already asking him to do, and now he just found out that he likes it. So, just another thing, man. Like, there's so many ways to get involved in real estate. Is just like really like a huge umbrella. It's like when somebody says like medicine or like engineering. Like, there's so many million things you can do in under that umbrella of a field that it's ridiculous. And it's the same thing.
Yeah, no, that's so true, bro. I was at the Thanksgiving dinner. Someone was like, "So, what do you do in real estate?" I mean, the only way I can answer that question is I show people how to get double-digit returns by investing in real estate. That's the only way I can answer that question, and it'd be like time efficient because the rest, what comes after that, there's so many things we can do. We can wholesale a property. We can buy it creatively and turning it into a rooming house. We can
Right.
have it become a rental. We can wrap it to someone else, right? How can you get money? You can lend on the deal. You can JV with us. You can bring the deal. So
Right.
I love that, bro. There's so many ways to win in this game. It's just a matter of, like you've been saying this whole time, and like you've actually done, is kind of find your lane, become good at it, surround yourself with the right people, and like you said, take consistent, massive action and just get better day after day, whatever you're doing in the business, and find people who are above you or peers or just right ahead of you to kind of network and go ham with them. You know?
Right. For anybody that's watching this, that's like trying to figure out, like, all right, they said so much stuff. Like, where do I start first? Like, what's the first thing? First thing you can do, like that we've just mentioned, is once you kind of figure out that this is something that you really want to do or something that you're interested in, and that the research and all that stuff you kind of do in your spare time. But if you want to talk
Don't get
about
analysis paralysis.
right, yeah, like as far as like actionable thing, like just don't be afraid to reach out to people who are already doing what you're doing. Right, like that's the biggest thing you can do. If you see somebody that's doing what you're doing, like if you're looking in these groups, you're looking in these meetups, like, oh, that guy's doing, like, reach out. That'll be
Y'all,
the
and
reach
don't
out.
and what I'll say is again, one of the four agreements, if you haven't read that book, The Four Agreements, read it. But one of them is don't take stuff personally. So if you're reaching out to these people and it takes a while to get back, or some of them don't hit you back, keep going, right? That's how real estate is, even with sellers, because that person, you might have ended up in their request box, the spam box. They might not have checked their Facebook in a week. So just reach out to as many people as you can. It'll only benefit you in the long run. I love that, bro.
And it's so crazy? You'll probably end up meeting that person or coming across them upon the real estate journey anyways.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing. There were some people who, like, who I had messaged about real estate when I first getting involved about just like simple questions and stuff. I didn't even do it the right way, but like I was just sending people messages about stuff, or asking questions or asking how I can like get involved. And a lot of them didn't answer. Some people just said, not for me, or directed me somewhere, and that's cool. But ultimately, it's just funny because now that I'm actually in the business, we're doing deals, we're scaling, doing all the other stuff. I've come across a lot of those people in just passing, like, or in just in business, and um, now we're actually friends. Like now we're actually acquaintances in the business with the potential of joint venturing on deals and a lot of other stuff. So don't take a no, or somebody not responding as a signal that they don't want to help out, or that it's not for you. Right? Like just keep going with it. Keep going with it, because more times than not, you're probably going to come across that same person somewhere down the line where you guys have the potential to do some big stuff.
Be so great they cannot ignore you.
Exactly.
Mm,
Exactly. And how do you become great? Greatness is just defined by taking the action that you want to take, and doing that consistently and holding yourself accountable to it, man. All that stuff is all part of the equation.
I love it. I love it. Yo, my guy, thank you, bro, for taking some time to
Oh
tap
yeah,
in.
man. We've been chatting, and that time breezed by, man. We're gonna be back for another episode soon, guys.
Let's
This
get
is
it.
just the first tip of the iceberg, man. We're getting the ball rolling. Always doing a great job of just providing value to you guys and how to get involved in this business. And these things that we're telling you are not things that we have not done ourselves, right? So like, don't think that he's just out here telling you like nonsense or whatever. Like he's actually telling you things and bringing people on here that he knows personally, that we've done business with personally, and have really made this stuff happen. Everything I'm telling you today, it's stuff that I physically have done myself, or he's done himself, or we have people that have done and have been successful at it. Right. So, you don't have to take the word from us. You can do whatever you want to do with it, but these things really work and they really happen. And,
If y'all want to see HUDs, hit me up. If you ain't got HUDs, it's dead.
you
So
know what I'm saying? Like this stuff really works. Like, all everybody that's gonna come on this podcast and give you guys some game, you know, whatever person you are, wherever you are, starting in your real estate journey, just take tidbits here and there, take action with them, and then and be consistent, man. Be consistent. That's gonna be the best way to do anything in this business. What did Jim Jones say? He said, when you don't have the motivation, have the consistency. Because the consistency is gonna bring back the motivation. Right?
mm,
So,
that is
you
true.
know,
That
just be consistent with it. Just
yeah.
be consistent.
Be consistent. 1% every day. 1% better every day, y'all. Yo, thank
Absolutely.
you so much for jumping on here. Thank y'all for showing love and coming out. Yo, we'll be back next week, y'all. Let's get it. Hit us up. Yo, I almost forgot. How can people get in touch with you? How can they do deals with you? How can they reach out to you to ask you questions?
Yes, yes, yes. Actually, maybe I can change my name. You can hit me up on all socials. This man has been bugging me to get more involved in social media and stuff like that, which I need to do. So you can hit me up at Don. I can put my name in here, Don Chicoleone on Instagram, Emeka Opara on Facebook. I pretty much accept anybody anyway, just to network. Um, if you guys have any deals, focused home buyers, we're doing deals nationwide, right? If you guys have any properties in your neighborhood where you may need to run down properties, you think people can really, use some help to selling it, put all this stuff, together, contact us. We'll make it happen. We'll get you paid on a deal. You got a seller or somebody in your neighborhood who's looking to sell their house or whatever, we can make it happen. So
Get it, y'all.
let us know.
Awesome. Let's go. Let's do some deals, family. Yo, I appreciate you, bro. We'll be back next week, y'all. Peace and blessings.